Awesome. So I'm probably the last thing between you and lunch, so I'm going to try to be as entertaining as I can, and I'm going to try to be as brief as I can, which is usually a challenge for me. Yeah, let's get this going. The topic today is building the best e-commerce model, and the area I want to focus on is how do we future-proof our brands to be able to go into the next generation of e-commerce. And I'm really glad that the session before this spoke about omnichannel, because that's one of the key themes that I'm going to focus on today. I know in the morning people said they don't use the word omnichannel anymore, so I was a little bit worried. But I'm glad that we just had an omnichannel report come out. You know, when we talk about how to future-proof your brand, today at Shiprocket, we see two major themes that are really driving brand growth, brand adoption, brand penetration. One of them is going omnichannel, and the other one is increasing your reach. And by reach, it's very much a similar concept to what we spoke about, Bharat Commerce. We spoke about going global. You know, these are the two areas which really weren't there 5 years ago when we started Shiprocket. It was more about metros, tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities. That's where the demand was coming from. When we talk about omnichannel, actually, one of the things I'd like to talk about is most of us just think of the top two things up there, which is website and offline store. For us, omnichannel, the world ends there. But like we heard MessageBird talk about earlier, it's a lot more than that, right? It's about mobile, customer support, social media, email, chat. These are all the different points that you have to be able to interact with your customer. And they're not just points of communication to solve queries. It's not about where my shipment is, why is my order late, when will I get my order. It's more about engaging with them as a brand, building your narrative, building your content, building your story, right? And that is a very important part of the omni-channel story. It's not just about, oh, I have a website, I have an app, and I have an offline store, so I'm omni-channel. Linking all of these aspects of this together is incredibly important. And I'll give you an example, right? So we had Rashi earlier on stage from Heads Up for Tails. I'm actually a customer and a pet parent. And I bought a bed, you know, a pet bed for my Shih Tzu, I think it was about 2 months ago from her. And since then, the interaction I've had with the brand on WhatsApp, they had a pet psychologist come in, they sent me that information on WhatsApp. It's something I was interested in. I went. You know, that communication is what builds the loyalty to the brand. And had it just been them sending me an email saying, oh, these are 20 products you might like, honestly, that's really not a brand narrative. That's really not a connection with the brand that would make me want to go back. To the point today that all my pet accessories, all my pet food, all comes from that one company. So actually, I was really inspired to listen to her because I think they're doing a phenomenal job around omnichannel. Again, it's not online versus offline. That story was 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's about online and offline. And when we say online, it's not just a website. It's about every mode of interaction that you have digitally with your consumer. We do believe we're a digital-first company. Shiprocket is an e-commerce enablement platform. We take new brands online. So we still focus on offline because we believe that as brands scale, as they grow bigger, it's important to have that experiential experience where customers can touch and feel your brand. It is not just about, you know, showing an image on a product detail page and expecting people to buy. Does that mean that I think every e-commerce first or digital brand should have 600 stores across the country? No. But having a way for people to experience your brand, especially controlling the narrative, it's extremely important. And that's why we believe this whole omni-channel strategy is very important. Number two, bringing your inventory online and, you know, enabling quick commerce. Now, quick commerce has got a bad rap recently. Everyone thinks about it as 10-minute, 15-minute delivery, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, media hype around whether it's good, whether it's bad. The reality is, e-commerce, quick commerce is not just about 10, 15-minute delivery. It's about same-day delivery. It's about next-day delivery. It's what about the big marketplaces have gotten us used to. That if I order something today, most likely in a metro, I'll get it tomorrow. But in a tier 2 and 3, it might take 3 to 4 days. To be able to do that, you have to place your inventory closer to your customers. And having offline stores, having offline supply, whether it's dark stores or actual physical stores, is a great way to be able to enable that amazing delivery experience. Again, single view of customer across channels. If someone is walking through into my store, if someone is interacting with me on WhatsApp and has asked me a query about a particular product, about a particular event, about some content, these are customers telling me something about what they want. It's extremely important for us to be able to leverage that level of data, that analytics. You know, I grew up my first job was in consulting, and I was consulting a lot of the large offline organized retailers. And the biggest pain point everybody had was knowing your customer. They used to pay millions of dollars to these consulting companies to get to know their customers better, to get customer insights. Today, you have a customer with their click stream, with their communication with you, with their messages with you on WhatsApp, who is telling you everything that you want to know. It is up to us now to be able to leverage it and build the best experience possible. And again, in-store interventions, I already spoke about it. And this is something that, Message Bird spoke about earlier as well, that go where your customer is, interact with your customer where they are. Don't force them to come to your channel. And I think that's extremely important. The other trend that I want to talk about when we talk about omnichannel is direct-to-consumer. It's a term we've heard about a lot in the last 2 to 3 years. It's an extremely important trend, which has only become more important after the pandemic, after COVID. It's very important because, again, it gives you that direct channel with your consumer, and I cannot stress on it enough. And with 5G coming into our country, with increased internet penetration, with tier 2, tier 3 towns coming online, with Bharat Commerce coming online, it's extremely important for brands to have an identity, to be able to talk about what they stand for, because otherwise you will just be a bottle of shampoo in a chemist, in a grocery store, which will not mean a lot, because you don't have that 50 years of a legacy that some of the large brands have built up over many, many years. And D2C is big business now. It is no longer a good to have, right? It's expected to be 60 billion by FY27. There are 800 plus major brands that have been built in the D2C segment, right? People expect somewhere for it to be even 100 billion if you go by different estimates. And we have the third highest number of e-retail shoppers in the world. So it's extremely important when we think about a channel. D2C is something that is extremely important for us to focus on. It's no longer just a website, like I keep on saying. It's about that entire omni-channel experience. Again, we're just getting started. $100 billion opportunity beckons. And this is where I think companies like Shiprocket and any company which helps you improve your delivery experience is really important. Because you have one thing in your control as a brand, which is the product quality, which is the messaging you give to your consumers. What you don't have in your control is what happens once that product goes out of your warehouse or out of your store. That end experience with the customer is sometimes as important as the product quality or the product you deliver to them. And that's where it's very important to be able to communicate, engage with your customers, and make them believe that they're actually working with an empathetic brand, right? Having a human face to the brand. If the order is delayed, you need to tell them. They should not be coming and asking you where my order is. So delivery experience is a very important part of omnichannel, because without it, the entire strategy is just 5 channels that work disparately. They don't come together. The other part of the future-proofing your e-commerce business is expanding your brand's reach. We spoke about Bharat enough in the first half of the day, so I'm not going to focus on it in the interest of time. But the one thing we haven't touched upon is global opportunities for direct-to-consumer brands and for retail brands in our country today. This is a trend that we saw immediately post-COVID. A lot of brands looking at overseas markets as soon as freight opened up, flights opened up, looking at markets outside of India to, one, be able to diversify their markets, customer segments. Number 2, to be able to increase their target addressable market, right? So a lot of brands today are now building for niches. For example, you don't have to build a mass market shampoo anymore. I'm going to use this example. Someone can build a shampoo for curly hair. Someone can build a shampoo for graying hair like mine. But in the past, everyone would have said, oh, these businesses aren't viable. There's just a small target market for these brands. How are you going to make a multi-million, billion-dollar company out of this? The reality is, you start building for your target market in India, but these market and these customer segments are available across the world. And guess what? There are people like us all over the world who want similar products, right? One of the most funniest things I hear when I travel to Southeast Asia is this term, same, but different. And I always laugh when I hear it, because it never used to make sense for me earlier. But the reality is, yes, we may be different in how we look and how we dress, but our customer needs at the core of it are not very different. There are people with graying hair in all parts of the world. There are people with curly hair in all parts of the world. So if I'm building a personal care brand in India, why can I not sell my product to these consumers all over the world? And today, the infrastructure is very much there for me to be able to deliver a good product experience, deliver a good customer experience, and in many cases, make more money because I can sell the product for a higher price. This is the golden era of e-commerce. This is the future. So one thing I'll end with today is encouraging all of you as you're thinking of growing your brand, building your brand, and we work with a lot of startup brands, a lot of digital-first brands, is think global. I don't think this was possible 2-3 years ago. It is very much possible today. There are people who are helping you in this journey to go global. And I'm going to take, I know it's time out, so I'm going to take 30 seconds more, to talk about how we are enabling you in this journey, whether it's going omnichannel or going global, by giving you a platform, one platform. You don't have to go to 20 different solutions for all your e-commerce needs. We have one platform. We talk about Shiprocket One, the DNA of e-commerce, because our journey as Shiprocket has mirrored the journey of e-commerce in India to a large extent, right? We started off being just a shipping platform. That's what most of you guys know us as, because that was the critical need 6 years ago, is having a good shipping experience. But today, a large part of that problem is getting solved, and the company has now also evolved into giving you this end-to-end post-purchase customer experience, helping you take your brand global with Shiprocket X, helping you do instant returns, refunds, etc. So, the growth of retail in this country has very much been a driver for our growth as Shiprocket, and it's something that we look forward to, because we think the last 5 years are just the tip of the iceberg. The next 5 years are going to be even more exciting and even bigger for all of us. Thank you.